Good evening, ladies and gents. In today's video I want to talk about possibly the biggest cryptocurrency drop of 2023. So this is a new blockchain and a new cryptocurrency that is hopefully going to be hitting the market in Q2. So I want you to be prepared and be ready so you know what it is and potentially you invest in it early, which is soon enough. So if you're prepared, if you're ready, if you know how this coin works, what this coin is, what this blockchain does, the technology behind it, why it's useful, and you're ready to go, and you want to invest in this coin as soon as it launches or shortly after it launches during a bear market, like you could be looking at crazy returns come the bull market, kind of like investing in Solana in 2018 or investing in Ethereum when it launched during its bear market. So where did I hear about this coin? I heard about this coin or this blockchain from some of the smartest thought leaders in the entire crypto space, and not just some influencers, not just some guys who minted a Bored Ape early or something like that. Like, these are the leaders, the crypto thought leaders. So Eric Wall, if you don't know these guys, you probably should follow them on Twitter, or maybe listen to a couple of interviews with them if you want. But yeah, they're just so you're aware, like, they're the smartest guys in the room when it comes to crypto, like some of the smartest minds. So there's Eric Wall, Balaji, and Chris Bernesky. They all individually mentioned Celestia, that they were interested in the technology separately at different stages. I overheard them saying that in interviews, etc. So if these guys are talking about it and say it's interesting technology, it's probably a technology that could completely change how we use blockchains. Then it's something I'm going to have to research and dive a bit deeper into, and pretty much no one knows about it. Very few people are talking about it because it's not launched yet, so you're not directly able to invest in it now, so no one really knows about it. But if you're ahead of the curve, if you know about it before everyone else does, that's where the real alpha comes from. Now potentially you could get an airdrop for this coin if you tried a few different things, which I'll mention at the end. But for now, I just want to kind of explain what Celestia is and why it's useful. Okay, so this might get a little bit technical, but I'll try and explain it in the most simple terms in the most simple English language that I possibly can. So Celestia is the first modular blockchain, and it's also one of the first to use data availability sampling. Let me explain what those terms mean and why they're so innovative and useful. So in Ethereum, for example, which is a monolithic chain, Ethereum handles the consensus, so everyone agrees that this transaction is legitimate. It handles the data availability, so everyone can see that the data is available for everyone to see, and it handles the execution of the transaction. So everything that is needed for a transaction is done on the Ethereum blockchain. So that's what a monolithic chain does. It does everything for you. However, there are some disadvantages and drawbacks to using a monolithic chain. With a modular chain, it splits up those functions, where if I wanted to create an app, a decentralized app, I could create my own blockchain and I could do the execution on my own blockchain. And the difficult part of setting up a blockchain is having validators and stakers and coming to consensus. So I would go to consensus on Celestia. So it separates those two functions. Okay, so what's the advantage of me being able to separate the execution onto my own blockchain and have the consensus on the Celestia blockchain? So what's the advantage of having a separated consensus layer from the execution layer? So if I have my own blockchain which handles the execution, then I have a lot more freedom. Like on Ethereum, you have to use Solidity, the programming language. But if it was on my own blockchain, I could use any language I wanted, and I have a lot more freedom to do smart contracts that might not be possible on Ethereum, or create decentralized apps which might not be possible on Ethereum. So Celestia's vision is that instead of everyone creating their own smart contract, you could just create your own blockchain as a roll-up on top of Celestia. The other huge advantage to a system like this, a modular blockchain like this, is if you have been around in crypto for a while, you've probably heard of the block war and the block size debates. So the bigger the blocks of transactions, like the blockchain of transactions, for example on Bitcoin, they wanted Bitcoin Cash increase the block size of the transactions, so there is more transactions per block, which essentially reduces the fees for each transaction. So if you have a bigger block of transactions, there's less fees. However, the trade-off is it's less decentralized because you need bigger miner and bigger computer power to actually process bigger blocks. So that's kind of the trade-off between having a bigger block size and a smaller block size. Bigger block size means cheaper fees but less decentralized, and smaller blocks means it's much easier for anyone to run a node. But in like 2018, I believe Vitalik and a couple of others created an article or came up with a theory of data availability sampling, which Celestia is the first blockchain to use. So instead of you having to read the entire block of transactions if you want to verify that they're legitimate, each person just takes a small sample to verify the entire block. So essentially the block can be much larger but still can be adequately decentralized because everyone's taking a different sample from the block to verify those are all legitimate transactions. So essentially it's infinitely scalable with cheap fees, which could be a huge breakthrough in blockchain technology. So essentially the block size of transactions can increase along with demand without increasing the fees. So like on Ethereum, the more demand there is for block space, the higher the fees for that block space become. But with Celestia, all we need is just more nodes to verify the transactions within a bigger and bigger block. We can just make the blocks infinitely big if we want and just have more nodes to verify a sample of those transactions. So the fees would not go up with higher demand like is the case with Ethereum. So the vision for Celestia is that it's going to be just as easy to create your own optimistic or zero knowledge rollup as it is to create a smart contract. And we talked about the advantages of creating a blockchain instead of a smart contract. If you want to create some sort of decentralized app, if you want to do a DeFi or an NFT marketplace or something along those lines. And Celestia will be the universal consensus network that anyone can plug into. And you can have your own blockchain and then plug into Celestia for the consensus at the end. So Celestia is currently in testnet phase, so they're doing different testnets, and the mainnet is live in Q2 of 2023. Well, that's according to current plans and current estimates. Maybe it'll be pushed out a little bit, but I just want you to be aware of this coin and of this blockchain, as the technology is extremely interesting, and it could be like buying Solana early, because Solana had its proof of history, a new technology which made fees extremely cheap, and Ethereum obviously was its own technology that enables smart contracts. And if you were in early on Ethereum or Solana when they both launched in separate bear markets, yeah, you just did extraordinarily well. And potentially Celestia could be a similar outcome. Okay, so that's the very basics of how the technology works and why it's useful. But what else about Celestia is interesting? Well, let's have a look at the team, and the team is just fucking crazy good. Like pretty much everyone on the team has created some huge successful cryptocurrency before. Even have the creator of optimistic rollups on the team. Needless to say, the team is extremely strong, extremely talented cryptocurrency developers essentially. And to add to that, they've raised $55 million from Jump Crypto, FTX Ventures, lol, FTX, and Balaji himself. So they have plenty of runway, they have plenty of money to actually launch their coin. They only have 40 staff, so they have plenty of runway to go for years with that kind of money. I don't think it's a rogue, or I think it has a high likelihood of success when it does finally launch. I'll leave some instructions below if you want to try and get an airdrop for the coin by interacting with the testnet or trying to get some test tokens, or even setting up your own node. I haven't personally done that myself because I'm not sure if it's too late to do that or if it's still available to do that, so I haven't done it myself. But if you want to do that and setting up a node, like, you need to be quite technical. I'm sure 99.99% of people wouldn't be arsed doing it, myself included. I'm probably just going to see if there's any new testnets being released or if there's any updates from the team of anything that I could do. In reality, I just want to be aware of it for when it does launch, and potentially I probably will be an early investor into that once it does go public and live for anyone to invest. I want to be there early. Alright, so that's the lowdown on Celestia. Really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Cheers.